Hey everyone, this is Aubrey.
And this is Melody.
And we want to welcome you to our new podcast,
Mostly Macabre.
Well, hey everyone, thanks for coming back.
Thank you. We really appreciate you guys coming back.
All three listeners, Mom, Uncle Tim.
Hey, Jose.
How are you? Our big fan base. So what's new? What's been going on with you guys?
Did you watch that documentary, the Netflix documentary, My Father, How Art Thou?
Yes, I did.
I missed that one.
I didn't finish it, so don't say, we don't want to spoil it for the listeners anyway.
No
but
spoiler alerts.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was interesting. I think that man... Well, you haven't finished. Can I say too much? I mean, we all know what happened.
Spoil it anyway,
but you
right?
already know, I mean, how far are you into it? It's not that...
A little more than half.
Yeah, so you pretty much know. He was inseminating his patients with his own sperm.
Like a
It's
fucking
a doctor.
sicko.
It was a fertility doctor. He was known for... He helped with infertility.
He was supposed to be like a really good doctor.
Yes.
Like if you had infertility issues, this is the doctor that you went to because he was going to be able to help.
Yeah, and it turned out, he was inseminating using his semen. Now, some of the people... but here's the thing. I had a thought at first. I was like, some of the patients... Like, they didn't choose the semen. He told them, he said it was med students. So he's like, I'll find you a good pair and match you up and, whatever. So some people knew that it wasn't going to be their biological child. Other people their husbands would provide a sample. And what he was doing is using his own sperm.
Gross.
And inseminating these people and not using the husband. So he was the father of these children.
How many did there end up being? I remember it was past 50.
Do you want me to tell you? Are you sure?
Yes.
Spoiler
Okay,
alert.
it was-
I actually
3, 2,
love to
1.
get a spoiler.
In the end, it was over 90.
Holy
And
shit.
counting.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's probably over 100.
So, easy. Because this guy, so anyway, he was using his own sperm without these women knowing. So part of me, all right, I think no matter what they should know, like he should not be using his own sperm. But if he was a donor and like people thought that they were getting like someone's sperm, I can see the gray area there. But, replacing the husband with yours is like unbelievably horrendous. I mean, it's horrendous all the way around.
And plus, from the the man's aspect, you got to go in there and do your business in the cup. I mean,
And then you're just throwing it away.
Exactly.
And then but
and
also,
then it's disgusting
don't throw
how
away good product. You know?
But but also, I mean, you raise this child thinking it's your own. Like it's sad for the parents. It's sad for the child.
And these women never consented.
They
is
did
what I
not
think is the
consent.
worst part. Is they
Exactly.
did not consent to that doctor using his own sperm. They thought it was a
Exactly.
donor, and they thought it was donors that only donated a maximum of 3 times.
And that's what he told them is that no donor donates more than 3 times because we don't, be in a close area. You don't want to have meet a sibling.
That was one of my, the craziest parts that, blew my mind was how they were all, whenever they started finding each other, they were all within, a 20-mile radius of each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, in the documentary, I was waiting for someone to be like, and then I found out I dated my brother in high school.
Exactly.
It
or
didn't
married
happen.
each other.
It didn't happen that we know of or that they put in that documentary.
I haven't finished
So
it.
was this on Netflix or something?
Netflix,
Oh,
yeah.
We missed
But
that.
I guess because, once 23andMe and Ancestry came out, these people were doing
Oh,
that.
yeah, I did that.
And then they were getting linked, like, you have 300 links, like you have so many linked. And they're like, what the hell? And they have 10 siblings. And they're like,
crazy.
what is happening?
Yeah, that's one downside to that 23andMe. It's like, oh, by the way, you've got brothers and sisters.
That's that's the upside for these poor people. I mean, God forbid, what if they had found out their high school sweetheart who they lost their virginity to was their brother?
Oof.
Can you imagine the
God, I'm retching.
psychological damage there? Like, you would need some serious therapy. Never mind these people that find out their fathers are not their fathers, and the
Right.
fathers find out those are not their children.
So upsetting.
It's devastating on that level. And then imagine if you actually procreated with your sibling and didn't know. But I feel like this man, he reminded me of how the Nazis were really into
That's
the
what
pure
it was.
race.
That was the reason he was doing it. He was trying to
Create a
save
pure-
the Aryan race or some shit.
Yes.
Oh, so he was crazy.
Well, he was very
he was a sicko, and he was a racist.
He got into like this. I guess he accidentally ran a child over, and after, did you see that part?
I didn't get there yet.
Oops. Well, spoiler. So when he was young, he acts like he was driving, and a 4-year-old rode their bike out in front of him and died. After that, I guess he, he found God or whatever. He became super religious, but then the religion he found was like the group he joined. Oh yeah, because you didn't get that far. It kind of like veered into this whole pure race thing. So it started to get a little intertwined with other stuff. But when he actually met some of the children, he just wanted to know like their stats, basically how successful they were. And it just reminded me of like the Nazi mentality.
Basically, wasn't it how like that religion encouraged people to procreate, and like the more offspring that you had, like the more power or whatever you had?
It was about basically like having a pure white race. They wanted a pure Christian race, and that's kind of like where it started to weave in and out. And
well, Christianity is not a race, but.
And religion, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, that's what I meant. The whole, like, they wanted it. It just started to weave in and out, where it was like
a lot of blurred lines there.
Yeah, it started to get weird. I don't know.
It's like that anyway.
Yeah, but they took it to like a new weird level of like I don't know. It was weird. It just reminded me, like, before they even got into it, like even before they started saying that all this stuff happened, I was like, this reminds me of like the Nazis and the pure race thing, where like, why would you feel the need?
When she starts talking,
how
like a bunch of them have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Mm-hmm. But not even just that, but just the whole fact of like, what kind of narcissist are you that you feel that you want your seed spread? You know what I mean? Like, you literally get rid of the fathers just to put yours there.
Yeah,
That's
what makes
you know what I mean?
special?
Like,
oh, and there was one lady that he called her back twice. She thought she was being inseminated with her husband's sperm, and obviously she wasn't. But like the fact that he called her back twice, I don't know. There was something like extra sick about that to me.
The whole thing, it was sick. But no, he definitely, it was like that God complex narcissist thing where he felt like because like what makes you...
And then they all had autoimmune diseases. I remember
all.
this part that they all had autoimmune diseases too.
Mm-hmm.
Or a bunch of them did, because that's something that he wasn't a completely healthy man.
And he
so not only are you,
on.
you're passing that on.
But his ego was super healthy because he thought he was the best choice to do God's work in his eyes.
He's disgusting.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was really interesting. But no, I guess like there's been a few doctors ever since, I guess it said, since those DNA tests came out, like the at-home ones that they've caught, like that they were using their own sperm. But he's the most like... prolific. Yes, where he's got the highest count so far and counting.
He probably saw that 23andMe commercial and was like, oh, shit. It's over.
But, being a doctor, if you're so, you've got that ego, you think you're smart and know it all and that your specimen is the best.
Yeah.
Don't you think you'd know that science is going to keep going forward?
Yeah, if you're a doctor, you probably should know that.
Especially being a doctor. Yeah. So, oops.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good. I did watch that one. Did you watch Candy on Hulu?
I haven't. Is it good?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, we won't get into it.
Is that Jessica Biel? I think it's Jessica Biel.
And Justin Timberlake makes a cameo in there.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he has a part. He doesn't even look like him. But I did watch it because I have no life and that's what I do. But we'll talk about that another time after you guys catch up. So, Melody, what story do you have for us today?
Okay, so today we're going to talk about Richard Klinkhamer. I was trying to find my next topic. As you guys know, I kind of jump all over the place when I'm trying to find my next topic. So I started researching sports-related murders, and I went to lobotomies, and I went to diamonds, and I ended up doing this one just like out of the blue. Like I had an epiphany and I felt inspired, and I decided that I wanted to look specifically into authors whose work may have been foreshadowed, or whose work has foreshadowed crimes that like they've actually
literally
done
every topic you picked is so far from each other.
They are. They don't even branch off naturally. There's no train of thought. It's just like a whole different topic.
I can't even follow that path.
Completely unrelated to each other.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, that specific topic of authors kind of like came to me. And that's the direction I decided to go. And actually, there was a lot to choose from, which I didn't really expect. Most recently, Nancy Crampton Brophy from Oregon, who wrote How to Murder Your Husband. Literally, like that's the title of her book, was How to Murder Your Husband.
Is that a show, too?
I don't know.
How to Get Away with Murder is what I was thinking.
That's what you're thinking about. But yeah, so recently she's one of the people that falls under this category, and it's currently developing, so that's not the one I want to talk about today. Like I said, today I want to talk about Richard Klinkhamer.
Klinkhamer.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. Klinkhamer. It doesn't matter.
A hammer does go
he's
clink.
He's a piece of shit, so.
But good job, Kevin.
So who the hell is Richard Klinkhamer? He was born March 15, 1937, and he died in January of 2016. So this is somewhat recent. He's Dutch. He was born in Ermelo, Netherlands, son of an Austrian maid. I couldn't find his mom's name, and her Dutch lover, her Dutch lover.
That's a story in itself.
An SS officer. So an SS officer was like Adolf Hitler's personal bodyguard unit. So that's who he was. I found that she was also raped by a Nazi, and when she returned to Holland, the Dutch public punished her by shaving her head and putting her in an ugly carnival. So I was like, what the fuck is an ugly carnival?
There's a story. I can't believe you didn't change gears.
I probably would
Changing my story. This is the story of the ugly carnival.
Well, I definitely had to take a little side trip into ugly carnivals and see what that was about. So after France was liberated from Nazi occupancy, they began these ugly carnivals, and women were...
Way to turn it around. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Progress.
Moving forward, let's start. Concentration camps were terrible. Let's start an ugly carnival. Like, no one learned a thing morally.
Nobody learned anything.
Oh my God.
Women were shamed and punished for collaborating with Germans or helping, although many times it wasn't really a choice. They were fucking scared of them. Having kids with Germans, which may also have not been a choice a lot of times. And of course, being prostitutes, because they always have to punish prostitutes in some way. Their heads were shaved and they were tarred and covered in swastikas. Sometimes they were beaten in public, paraded down the street for all to jeer. So it's giving me like Game of Thrones vibes.
I never watched that.
You never watched Game of Thrones?
I tried, and
I thought I was the only one.
I tried.
Isn't it though? It's giving Cersei.
You're asking two
down.
people who have never watched it. I tried to watch the first episode with Winter is Coming. I fell asleep twice, and I was like, "Fuck this shit! I can't."
It gets better.
Well, I couldn't get over the hump, and then I did the same thing with Lord of the Rings. Never watched it.
I can't get into Lord of the Rings
twice. If I fall asleep twice, there is no third try. I'm done. I can't do it.
Okay, so back to the ugly carnivals.
This is so funny.
So yeah, like I said, their heads were shaved and they were tarred and covered in swastikas. Sometimes they were beaten in public and paraded down the street for all to jeer. Just found out you guys have never seen Game of Thrones. That's okay. At least 20...
We're going to catch a lot of shit from that.
At least 20,000 women. This was also replicated in Belgium, Italy, Norway, and the Netherlands.
So it really took off.
Yeah, but actually this was like the thing that it's based off of is even older. That's like when they were doing it at this time, but it goes back even further, like the history of the ugly carnival.
We're going to have to do
like
that
I said,
story.
I didn't go all the way into the ugly carnival. It was just a little side trip because I was like, what the fuck is an ugly carnival? I need to know.
It's called high school. I'm just kidding.
You were tarred and feathered in high school.
Well, no, people are just ugly. Just kidding. Not really.
So, his mom, she was married, and her hubby, why did I write hubby? Her husband, Jacob Klinkhamer, was very forgiving because she took Richard in as her own son. So he is the son of an Austrian maid and her Dutch lover. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like
Oh, you meant, okay.
She was having an affair with this Dutch man.
Okay.
Oh, so she was married and then...
So the son of an Austrian maid and her Dutch lover. She actually had a family, like, aside from him.
Oh, okay. We didn't get that part.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't clear enough. But yeah, so it was like an affair type thing. She was married, and her husband, Jacob Klinkhamer, decided to take Richard in as his own son. But when he was only 3, the couple split. And after the war, Mom turned to sex work to help make ends meet. Richard was in and out of foster homes during his early years, creating lots of instability. And when he was 5, he witnessed his aunt being raped and the murder of his uncle.
That's a lot of trauma.
That is a lot that happened to him.
Witnessing his mother raped?
And then
No, he did not witness that part, but he was 5. He witnessed his aunt being raped.
Oh, his aunt. Well,
Yeah.
anyone being raped, witnessing that.
at 5, and then,
And then
a murder.
And the murder of his uncle.
That's bad.
So I did not look further into that because I had already taken that little detour into the ugly carnival. So I didn't look further into that part. That's like a little bit of trauma that he's carrying
Just
with
a tad,
him.
just a pinch.
Yeah, and then his mom had also had a rough go at her life before him. So there's like that thing called inherited trauma. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
So he probably
I call that shit rolling downhill. It's true.
He's got
That's
some
the
of that
technical
shit
term.
rolling downhill as well.
Yeah.
And more about his life. In 1948, when he was around 11, Richard winds up with Jacob again and his 2 sons. So he moves back with his dad and his two sons. And in his teens, he begins committing petty theft and just getting into trouble. So like around his teenage years is when he just starts being
But
like
we
a little
all get
rebel.
into that.
It happens.
Yeah.
Like he's growing up. At 19, he joins the French Foreign Legion, which is a branch of the French army made up of foreigners. And here is where he learned how to kill and how to dispose of a body. Because I suppose you learn
You have
that
to
in the
dispose of
army.
the body when you're in the. Is that like a military?
I don't know. Does the military learn
I think they
disposal of
just
bodies?
leave 'em
I thought
there.
you just left them
Yeah.
and then someone collected them.
Well, that's what I read, is that he learned how to dispose of a body here.
But that's not military, is it? Or is it
I
like.
don't know. Maybe in some like special forces, they do have to learn to dispose of a body. So there he learned how to kill and how to dispose of a body. And then he also tried to sound like a big tough guy by bragging about killing at least 3 men while he was in the French Foreign Legion. But later then he confessed to a biographer that he actually only just witnessed these murders. He didn't actually do it.
I did this. Well, actually, I just watched this. Actually, I was sitting at home and I saw it on TV. But, it's the same thing.
And however, he was a really good marksman. So like he was really good with his gun, like shooting accurately. That's what a marksman does, right?
Yes.
Yes. indeed.
He left the French Foreign Legion, and in 1960, for reasons unknown, Richard becomes a deserter and just pieces out. He's like, I'm done with the French Foreign Legion. And by this time, he's around 23 years old. He moves back with his dad, and he gets a job as a bartender at his local pub. He meets Leontine Van Emmerich at a party, and she immediately becomes obsessed with him. And he said that she was a good woman and that they never argued, but he was addicted to women, and he wasn't trying to get tied down by Leontine. And he tried to break up with her twice, but she just would not have it. She would not go. She was like, nope, we're not breaking
She was
up.
addicted to him.
Wow.
He's addicted to women. She's addicted to him. This is just a lot.
And then she pulled a good old surprise pregnancy. So Richard thinks that she planned it, and
course she
then
did.
after she became pregnant, he felt obligated to marry her. So that's how Leontine Van Emmerich and Richard got together.
So healthy.
Well,
It's a good
Richard
That's
had
how
a-
you start a good
He
relationship.
had a big
The
part
basis
in
of
that
every good
pregnancy.
relationship.
Let's
be
just
real.
say that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So April 5th, 1962, they tie the knot. Klinkhamer was 25 and Leontine was 22.
But that was a fun wedding.
Oh, their little shotgun wedding. The two gets married. After the ceremony, they had a little shindig at the Amsterdam's Cafe Modern. And Richard gets hammered. It's his wedding day. I can't really judge him for getting hammered on his wedding day.
I can.
You don't think it's okay for him to get hammered on
You
his
can
wedding
get drunk,
day?
but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're fucking hammered on my wedding day, I'm gonna be pissed. Like, keep
Yeah.
your shit. Don't get sloppy. You can be
Not
drunk. You have a good time. Don't
have a
get
good
sloppy.
time, but don't get like sloppy drunk where you're
Right.
like falling
Yeah.
around
'Cause
because
you
then it's
do-
not fun, and then somebody has to take care of you.
And if
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, "Oh, I was hammered," no, you
Yeah,
have
or,
a,
like,
you can
not
have a,
even
you can have a
remembering your
solid
wedding
buzz,
day.
but you're not going to
Yeah.
be hammered
You gotta,
I agree.
You gotta
You're
live
right.
up to your obligation for later that night.
because you got to remember it too. Well,
Exactly, you got to remember it.
You got a whole lifetime to make up for that, Kevin. But like, I'm not even gonna lie. I'd probably be like, I'm tired. We've done it a lot because I'm not gonna wait for marriage, so I'm okay. We can do it tomorrow.
It's nothing new.
Nothing new. Been there, done that. But you should remember the wedding and reception.
So in attendance to this little reception was Leontian's stepsister. She was 15 years old at the time. Her name was Hanny Godfreden. And Leontian later claims that she absolutely heard Hanny, this 15-year-old girl, vow that she was going to wreck their home and that she wanted Richard so bad to herself.
Where'd she hear this? She just heard her say
She
it?
claims that she heard her say this. Later, she claims that Hanny said this when
These
she was
people are a
15
disaster.
at her wedding, and this man is bumbling around, hammered. I don't know. I just find it a little. We'll see.
They all suck.
So she ended up in the Leontian family 5 years before this wedding, actually, because her parents got into a physical altercation and they fell down a flight of stairs through a glass door. Her
That's
dad.
quite the altercation.
Jesus.
It's a little side story, but it's kind of important to what comes later. They fall down the stairs and then through a glass door, and her dad grabs a hammer and beats the actual life out of his wife. And so this is how Hanny ends up with the Leontians. Because now that her mom is dead and her dad is institutionalized, Hanny and her brother are sent to live with the Van Emrichs. And she was only 13 at the time of the wedding. Oh, I thought she was 15. She was only 13 at the time of the wedding.
And this is, at 13, she was saying she's going to...
Apparently to Leontian. Leontian might have just been making it up. Hanny says that he didn't notice her much, but she was instantly smitten. Like, she was instantly in love with him.
She noticed him. He didn't notice her.
Yeah. Well, he didn't notice anything. He was hammered.
I'm going to be honest with you. I forgot already, and then I remembered that this story was based on writers who wrote things, and then it came true. Because there's so much fucking crazy in this.
Yeah, but this is not anything that he wrote yet.
I know. That's what I'm
This is
saying.
just
This
like
has
his
nothing to
life.
do with what he wrote. Like, I can't even see the connection. This is literally, you've got like three
common.
other
I have a
episodes in
lot
this.
of slides on this story.
Yeah. It's building him a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, there's a lot to work with here.
So after the wedding, 6 months after the wedding, Leontian births her first baby. The following year, she has another one. Klinkhamer and his brothers go into business together. They open up a few butcher shops in Amsterdam. The business was booming, apparently so good that later they opened a seaside hotel in North Holland from these butcher shops. So they must have been butchering.
They've been chopping a lot of stuff up.
They were killing it.
They were.
But thank you, Kevin. We can depend on you for those good dad jokes.
And Hanny was just so helpful at this time. She would just come around all the time and watch the kids. So Hanny's just like easily squirreling her way into the family. So now at this point, she's 19, and Klinkhamer discovers that he's kind of feeling something for Hanny. She's been around a long time. She's good with the kids. So I guess he's starting to catch some feels. And 1966, after the Christmas dinner, Hanny and Richard are washing the dishes when Hanny gently puts her hand on his shoulder and says, "I'm free next Monday." I'm not going to whisper the rest of it. She says, "I can come to your place or you can come to mine." So Hanny is putting the moves on
This
Richard.
married man.
This much older man than her, too.
Yeah, and now we got to know. How did he respond?
So Richard jumps on that offer, and thus
jumps on it.
he jumps all over this offer and begins their affair that goes on for over a year before Leontian even finds out.
I'm gonna be honest with you,
that
he's a
they're
brave
having an
man.
affair.
Because his wife seems kind of crazy. So, like,
She fooled him into this whole
that's-
marriage. She's obviously not.
I don't put the blame on her. They're both idiots. But, like, but she's intense. So he doesn't know how to stay away from trouble.
Well,
All the way around. all the way around.
So yeah, they begin this little affair, and it goes on for an entire year before she finds out about it. But listen, Leontian isn't going to let Richard go that easily. So she suggests...
I knew she wouldn't.
She suggests that they throuple.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I don't see what could go wrong there.
Oh, God. This is okay, keep going.
So he would switch between their two beds. They're all living in the same house at this time.
Okay.
And when he was away, they went at each other's throats. And this healthy little arrangement only lasted 3 months.
Perfectly normal.
You don't say.
Haney went back to Amsterdam, but she didn't stop seeing Richard. And Richard obviously didn't stop seeing her. Leontian says that Haney would call her when Richard left. So after he would be at her house, Haney would call her and give her a play-by-play of like what they did,
Ooh.
which is like fucked up. So she's just rubbing salt in that wound.
They're all crazy. I don't even know how to respond to this because I just feel like nothing could go wrong here.
So this went on until 1975, and Haney was just over it. So she went off to Israel. I don't know why she went to
when did
Israel.
it start? What year did it start?
Let's see.
It ended in 1975. When did this be? How many years was this? Because
1966, she was.
So that's
is when 1966 is when she whispered in his ear.
Oh, that's
a long
almost 10
time.
years. Yeah.
she's finally over a decade later. Okay, proceed.
So, she goes off to Israel, and I don't know what was in Israel or what led Haney to
land
go
of
to
the
Israel.
gods.
She was just trying to find something, and
Jesus.
she thought Jesus
Moses?
would be in Israel. And Richard agreed to commit to the marriage, but basically he gave a deadline to Leontian. So until the kids were older. Then it was curtains for this whole facade, and he was just going to be done with
snap.
it.
He was
So
just
in
up front.
1977, only 2 years later, they finally divorced. And Leontian kept him from seeing or contacting his kids. So she was that girl. And he split with a share of the hotel, and Leontian had to pay him annually for over 10 years. I didn't look further into this, but I don't know why Leontian had to pay him annually for over 10 years.
Like alimony?
I guess so. Maybe she was making way more money than
She must have
him, or
been.
like
He
maybe
put everything
the
in her name.
businesses, maybe the butcher shops were in her name.
Oh, her name. I don't know.
I don't know. But he uses this money to buy Haney and himself their first home together in Finsterwolde.
Okay,
What
so
a
they
fuck
got
you.
back together.
Sounds like my ex relationship, but go on.
Yeah.
So she went to Israel. Eventually, he got divorced. And then he got back with Haney.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because now he's not married, so I guess the coast is clear. They get
Coast
back
is clear while
together.
he was married.
Yeah, it didn't seem to matter before. Right?
Very romantic. He said, until I hit my 40s, I was unhappy. Now I found the perfect partner with whom I live and share my life. So he's super happy with Haney. They are living their best married lives. And a few weeks after buying the house, they hadn't gotten married after this. He bought her the house. They get together. And then 2 weeks after buying the house, they get married. So she has her little home that they bought.
Her love nest.
Her little love nest to take care of, and they get married. The neighbors say that they seemed very much in love and very happy together. So Haney begins working as a pediatric nurse at St. Lucas Hospital in nearby Winscoten. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Richard becomes a stay-at-home husband, and he does the cooking and the cleaning and the gardening. They renovated the home, and they painted it green. They added a shed in the backyard next to the garage, and Richard begins to read a lot because he had all that free time, and he decided to take a crack at writing. He creates a little writing nook by using a corner of the shed, and that's where he goes and does all his writing when he gets inspired. And he would wake up between 3 and 4 a.m. and nestle into his little corner of the shed and just write. And he told journalist Martin Meyer, author of Klinkhamer, the biography, I'd sit and write down whatever was in my head, That would go on until 10 o'clock in the morning. In 3 weeks, when it was all finished, I'd get myself hammered so I could forget. That's how he celebrated when he was done writing something. He would just like go off and get hammered. This was becoming a little habit for him. So the more he wrote, the more he drank, and the two went hand in hand for him. He would dig holes in the yard to keep his beer crates cool.
I like that.
I don't know
innovative.
why that was necessary. I feel like refrigeration was definitely available at this time.
A cooler.
Or just like walk into the house and get a beer. But no. So that's how he kept his beer cool, was these holes that he would dig into the ground. And he did try to dig a hole in the shed, but said that the beer in that hole tasted like dirt. I don't know what was different about one hole in the dirt from the other hole in the dirt.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about soil, but
he eventually dug deeper, but he doesn't know why he did it. He said, "I'm just always busy."
I was gonna say, he seems like he's got a lot of time on his hands.
And he loved showing off his holes. One visitor joked about how you could hide a body in there.
are we still talking about the ground? Or?
That's how I wrote it in my notes. I wrote he loved showing off his holes.
At least his wife didn't like showing off her holes. Edit that out.
So I don't know why he would like bring people to see his holes. And one visitor joked about how you could hide a body in there.
That's a lot
his
of
holes
beer.
were so big.
That's a lot of beer.
That is a lot of beer. Okay, so he kept writing, and eventually he had 2 books and a bunch of short stories. His writing was mostly autobiographical, so he wrote about what he knew. His first novel was Obedient as a Dog. It was based on his time in the French Foreign Legion and the tumultuous relationship between the individual and the group. And he wrote Hotel Thief and other stories. These were stories about fate, tragedies, if you will. A soldier trying to desert gets shot down. A pregnant woman is beaten to death for trying to get help. And an Indian worker murders his cruel master and thus cements his place in the caste system. So, like, dark, macabre type shit is what he was writing. And after work,
I don't know how he had time to write after digging all those holes.
I guess he split his time up. He was good at time management.
He sat in the hole and wrote.
But after each work was done, Richard would get wasted, hammered, and drunk. So as we were talking about earlier, that's kind of his little method for writing.
Sorry, I'm done. Crack it open.
So the royalties start pouring in with his work because I guess people actually want to read it. And his wealth actually came when he did really well in the stock market. So even though he's getting royalties from his books, his actual, like his real wealth comes when he takes off in the stock market and he does really well there.
That's interesting.
I know. He had many interests. The stock market confuses me. So he acquires a bit of wealth from stocks, and so much that they buy a second home in Portugal. So he must have been doing pretty
Where in
well.
Portugal do we know?
I didn't look it up.
My people.
Oh, right. These are from Portugal.
Is it Portugal, like actual Portugal?
It says Portugal.
Okay.
Is there not an actual Portugal?
Well, no, people like, I'm
Where else?
Portuguese, but yet they're from Brazil.
Oh, gotcha.
But no,
they
I guess
speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
So he would often squirrel away an extra 1,000 guilders into Hanny's secret cash stash that she kept under the kitchen sink. So I imagine like way in the back behind the pans. And he would like add money to Hanny's little stash.
That's cute.
So a neighbor named Harry Waits said that Hanny was bossy. And if you came through the back door, you had to take your shoes off, he told NRC News in 2000. And when Hanny would come home in the mornings after working the night shift, she'd run a wet finger along the tops of the cupboards to check if Klinkhamer had cleaned.
Oh,
Well, if I'm working the night shift, I would
exactly.
expect it to be clean in there. I want my breakfast on the table.
oh my goodness. Look, being
That's
a
what I
stay-at-home
wrote here too. I
dad.
said, she's busting her ass all day. She deserves to come
writing.
home to a clean home. He's doing nothing. He's digging holes and drinking in the shed.
He hasn't found found treasure. Well, I mean, if he's making money off of his writing, though.
But still, I understand, like, he's doing really well with the stocks and, like, he's making royalties from his writing. But still, you're at home all day.
I don't think I'd rub my finger across the cupboards, though. I mean, it's a bit extreme.
I might now, but
So she might be a little bit of a clean freak. But still, I don't think that she's, like, completely unreasonable for wanting him to keep a clean home while she's working all day.
All right, so now we know where Melody stands.
Maybe cut that out.
Good luck, Jay.
He knows. Klinkhamer's oldest son, Mitchell, visited the couple back in the 80s, and he claims that they both had strong personalities, but other than that, they seemed normal and happy. So I think that probably means they kind of clash a little bit if they're both strong personalities.
I call that, you can't have two number ones in a relationship. You need a 1 and a 2. Otherwise, you're just both going to butt heads.
Yeah. So in 1987, the stock market crashes and the couple loses everything, including the house in Portugal. And Richard raids the cash stash and shit just hits the fan. The fights were about money, of course, and Richard's drinking problem. So Richard was still drinking a lot. They're broke. Hanny would go off into the meadows of a church nearby alone, and she would just reflect. And it helped, I guess.
Meditation.
Meditation. There was no anger anymore, just shame and contrition, Klinkhamer would write years later. So I guess, like, she would come back and she would just be calmer. And
well, that's good. I mean, at least she wasn't killing him. Because all the other stories will do, pretty much you don't walk away.
yeah.
Another direct quote from him, my head resting in her lap, I would ask her for her forgiveness. Then we would cry together. She would call me my
gross.
little one and stroke my hair.
That's disgusting, all of it.
Sounds romantic to me.
I don't know what to think about it.
I love that you're learning your story as you're reading.
I haven't looked at this one in a few weeks, so yeah, it feels like I'm learning it all over again. But the fights got harder and the walks got longer, so it sounds like Haney is just like really reaching her breaking point. The neighbors remember seeing Haney with blue marks on her face, so I guess things start getting violent at some point. When Haney had problems, she would come over here, said a neighbor and friend, Janie Berkhammer. She wouldn't speak about it, but she was afraid to leave Richard. So, like, she wouldn't really give her details about what was going on, but the friend kind of understood that Haney was afraid to leave. In 1991, January the 30th, the fights are no more. A week later, Richard goes to the Finsterwald police to report that Haney is missing. So all of a sudden, she goes missing. It's a little suspicious. Richard was a suspect from the very beginning, but
It's a really long walk.
They couldn't arrest him because there was no body. So if there was no body in the Netherlands, it's very hard to prove that there was a crime.
Well, that's everywhere, I think.
Yeah. No body, no crime. So in 2007, Richard published a novel. He began writing it 3 months after Haney disappeared, and he took the manuscript to William Donker of Ad Donker Publishing, who passed because he said it was too gruesome and it was poorly written. So he wanted nothing to do with
He's
the
like,
novel.
but this is true. This is a true story.
Yeah, he probably
What do
left
you
that part out. Yeah.
And actually, many publishers passed on Wednesday Mince Day. People did become suspicious of Klinkhamer, and he gained some notoriety, which he actually seemed to enjoy very much, and he seemed to lean into it.
So he liked the attention.
He liked the attention of it because people were suspicious of him from the beginning. So scenarios in the novel: maybe the husband dumped her body in a canal nearby. Maybe he ground her up into mincemeat a la Sweeney Todd and fed her to the pigeons. Donker, his publicist, asked him point blank, and he said, "It's not yet the time to talk about it." Klinkhamer answered vaguely, "What the fuck do you think?"
And they were like, okay, let's publish
Yeah,
it
we
anyway.
can't wait to give you a deal.
Oh my
Can
God.
you give us an advance?
That would send chills up my spine. I would be scared for my life in that moment because this person is sitting across from you and he didn't like admit it, but he's heavily hinting towards it. I'd be scared to be in a room with him. So he goes on a TV show, and the host asked Klinkhamer whether he had killed his wife, and the writer replied very casually, "It could be. The villagers say I cut her into pieces or put her in the pond." So
I'm not saying I did, but I'm not saying I didn't.
Exactly. So he himself fuels these rumors. He loves it. He loves the attention he's getting.
On that. Yeah.
The glove did not fit.
So people didn't like that he took 3 days to report Haney missing, and it was not normal the way he acted. Janie Burkhammer told reporters in 2000, "If my husband was missing, I'd look everywhere, but he didn't do anything to find her."
He just wrote about it.
No, yeah, exactly. 3 days after. That's when he started writing about it.
I have this novel written. I did it in 3 days. It's 500 pages.
Her bike was left at the train station in Voskonten the night of her vanishing. And the next morning, no one saw her on the train. Normally, she would have stayed with one of her many friends in town instead of making the 20-minute trip on this freezing cold night. So this is something that she often did, is she would stay with friends when Richard was, like, going crazy, or, like, in this example, when she was working overnight.
Basically, it was such a healthy relationship. She stayed away a lot.
She did. She would frequently stay with other people.
I don't blame her.
I can't blame her either.
But also, I can blame her because you wanted this.
Since you were 13.
You wanted this relationship. You got between a marriage. And now, what? He's not Prince Charming? I can't believe it.
And the police did try to nail him. They questioned him. They jailed him. And they questioned him again. But when they searched the house, they searched the garden, they took evidence in, nothing came back to him.
What evidence? Did they
I don't know what evidence
during
they
their
took.
search, they found
they would like take stuff, but nothing, they even took a meat grinder and nothing.
Oh, for the rumors.
Yeah. nothing linked him to the murder. They used dogs and Royal Dutch Air Force F-16 with infrared scanners. They scoured the area and they couldn't find anything.
They weren't messing around.
So they really were trying. They were trying to get something on him. And in Holland, you can't arrest someone without proof that a crime was actually committed. So Richard remained free. Then, 5 years later, the anniversary of Hanny's disappearance, Richard has her legally declared dead. So after 5 years, nobody has been able to find her still, and he decides that he's going to declare her dead officially.
I mean, it's not 5 weeks, so
5 years is a long time.
It is a long time.
So I guess it's just like we know.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I guess so.
He waited 5 years.
But this means that he's now able to collect a widower's pension. Is that a thing here too? I've never heard of a widower's pension.
I've never heard of it. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, so now that she's officially declared dead, he's able to collect a widower's pension. And the house was under Hanny's name, and it could now revert back to his name.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. In 1997, he sells the house and he moves to Amsterdam. The whole time, he sticks to his story that Hanny just disappeared, that nobody knows where she is. So when straight up asked, he would give the weirdest answers if he did kill her. And on a Dutch television show called Paradijevels in 1994, the presenter asked him straight up, "Did you kill your wife?" And he said, "It could be," was his response. "The villagers say I cut her into pieces and put her in the pond or in the compost hill." And all his friends and neighbors were tired of his shit too. He would blow them off and tell them that now isn't a good time to talk about this, or like ask them, "Why do you want to know?"
This kind of blows my mind that it's 1994. I keep thinking it's way later, like
this is our
lifetime.
lifetime.
Yeah.
He had another girlfriend from 1997 through 2002, Marguerite here. And when she asked, he was really vague with her too.
Seems like the type of question you'd want to get a definitive answer on before you entered into a
on
relationship.
date number one.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would need to know that on the first date. So she said, "Sometimes I did get mad at him and would say, 'Lie to me, tell me that you didn't do it.'"
Oh, God.
She told People.
Well, he
I drew
found
my
the
conclusion.
perfect girl.
She said, "I drew my conclusions that he was involved, but I think she desperately wanted him not to
Clearly.
be, but he wasn't confirming that for her. Like she just wanted him to confirm that he didn't do it." And she would have believed it, but he didn't say anything one way or the other.
Nice.
So she just drew her own conclusions that, yeah, he was involved. So weird. I couldn't be with somebody that I thought had murdered somebody.
There's I don't even have words for the whole group of them. They all suck.
Well, there's like when the murderers are convicted and then they get these fan clubs.
Yes, it's
sending
girls
them
like
naked
that.
pictures.
Low
Yeah.
self-esteem and
They
like
get married in prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they know the guy killed a bunch of people, and they're like, "Yeah, that's sexy." I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. February 3rd of 2000, it's a cold day in Finsterwolde, Netherlands. And Richard's old home, the new owners were redoing the backyard. They wanted to make it all cute for the kids. And an excavation company was tearing up the backyard. Richard's beloved shed was torn down and the concrete floor under it was demolished. So only layers of thick clay remained where the shed used to be. And about 5 feet in, a member of the crew saw a piece of plastic dangling from the excavator bucket. So, like, you know, the excavator with the, like, claw bucket? Okay. Because whenever I read it, I was thinking about a beach bucket. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. No, it's an excavator bucket. And he pulls on the plastic to free it from the teeth. And all the contents just, like, spill out of the bucket. And it was actually a bone. So it was yellow at this point and just under 10 inches long. The worker looks into the hole and finds more bones. The entire human skeleton worth of bones
Can we
is
talk about
discovered.
how shitty this police department is if they didn't check in
The shed. But there was a layer of concrete.
So? I don't know.
They're like, no, don't touch it. It's still wet. They're like, okay, no problem.
This is where the guy hangs out,
Can I put my initials in it?
writes books.
Yeah,
and
maybe
drinks
somebody
beer.
should have
Yeah,
thought
they
about, like,
should
this
have
is
checked
kind
that.
of recent concrete.
Well, like, I mean, without a warrant, I don't know how it works over there.
But they
yeah.
were searching the home. Remember, they took evidence?
Yeah.
So they were there. I don't know. It's probably easier to think about now. 'Cause
Yeah.
we know what happens. So yeah, they find the entire skeleton. And the police go to find Richard at his home in Amsterdam. He goes, I've been waiting 9 years for this.
Ooh.
And forensic specialists were able to identify a jawbone from the Finsterwolde home as Hanny's. So they're able to positively identify that it's
My
her.
dental records. Yeah.
And they finally have enough evidence to arrest Richard Klinkhamer. Finally. So what the hell happened? Klinkhamer finally confesses. Haney came home from shopping. This is what he confessed to. Haney came home from shopping in Groningen in the afternoon. They had a fight. Haney told him to get out. She said, pack your things and take the car with you. And Richard said that he was just so triggered because he had been sent away by everyone he's ever loved. The threat was just
poor
so
guy.
terrifying. He couldn't handle it. There was pushing, pulling, shoving, hitting. Haney grabbed the crowbar off of the washing machine and took a few swings at Klinkhamer. While we were wrestling, I took the crowbar from her, Klinkhamer says in his confession. I hit her a few times with the crowbar. I hit her mostly in the head. I hit her hard. She screamed, and I kept hitting until she stopped screaming and fell to the ground. So do you remember how Haney's mom died? Remember at the beginning, the reason she ended up living with Leodian's family was because her dad killed her mom
Right.
in a very similar manner as this. I just thought that was an interesting connection. Very, very morbid connection. So he dragged her body to the shed and threw her into the hole the hole that he'd started years ago when he kept his beer crates in there.
How big is this hole now?
I
9
told
years
you
later.
he loved to show it off. It was huge.
It's the size of Wisconsin.
The next day, he fills the dirt with more dirt and compost to hide the smell, and he tops it off with a fresh layer of concrete.
I mean, it's been years. I think it's a pretty deep hole. I mean,
Enough for a body to fit.
hide the smell. I think he just throws some dirt on it.
I didn't know that compost could be used to hide the smell.
Well, I think because it breaks down. That's the whole point of compost.
There's a lot about
And
you know,
like,
covering up murders. I don't know. I'll be honest.
He was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but he only served 3 for good behavior.
So
He was a model prisoner, so he only served 3.
So
but he was only sentenced to 7.
He was only sentenced to 7.
he
yeah.
admitted to murder. He was.
He was free for so long.
Yeah, that's true. And they convicted him for 7, or sentenced him to 7, and he served 3.
He only served 3 for murdering his wife.
Pretty
Wow.
sure America has the harshest like
Yeah,
punishment.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
need
in
to
other
move.
countries, for murder, it's not life. They get like 15 years, 20 years. Yeah,
Wow.
it's different. We are more strict with our punishment for
I think
murder.
that might be one thing that America is doing okay. Because if
Hey,
you
pros
kill
and cons. Let's not even open that door because there's a lot of people that don't get out that should never have been there. I mean,
yeah,
we could just, that's a
that
whole
part,
other
I agree.
episode.
We do have a lot of innocent incarcerated people, but I do feel that if you murder someone, you should get 25 to life. I don't know. That sounds okay
I mean,
to
he
me.
admitted it, but yeah, I don't know. That's a whole
Yeah,
other
he
issue.
admitted
Yeah.
it. So Wednesday Minstay, who he named in honor of Hanny's disappearance, became his most successful book. On January 21st of 2016, Richard is found dead. But in Klinkhamer, the biography, Martin Meyer wrote, "A few days later, I heard from one of the detectives who had inspected Klinkhamer's home after his death that it was actually a suicide." So Richard Klinkhamer did shoot himself in the head. That's how his life ended, and this is the tragic story of Richard Klinkhamer. Well, it's not tragic. I
This
don't
is
know
a
what to say
fuck
here.
show is what this is. These people.
This is the story of Richard Klinkhamer, yeah, and how he murdered his wife and wrote about it.
Yeah, I don't even.
But
have
again, like I
words.
said, I didn't realize that it's not anything that uncommon because there's apparently a lot of people that wrote about the shit they did.
It's interesting because I just read a book about kind of like not similar at all. This is just insane. But the whole premonition thing, I feel like we do have a level of like, I don't know. I feel like people like our animal instinct or natural instinct. I'm not too surprised that people write things and then it happens. One, you're putting it out into the universe, and then two, I feel like sometimes, well, he knew the fuck he did. I mean, I don't know, like, I can't even say that.
Yeah,
like,
his
he
was
put it
written
out there.
after
He did
what
it
he
afterward.
did.
It was basically just being smug, but I guess I'm not surprised that some people will write things that, that people that don't murder their wives, and then it comes true.
He liked it. Like we heard about how he kind of leaned into the whole scandalous vibe that he was
like a typical
putting out.
sociopath.
Yeah.
He liked the attention and he felt important. That's really weird. This whole
And his
story-
book became a bestseller.
Well, thank God he got paid.
And he said, "I've been waiting 9 years for you guys to."
I'm gonna have to read this book.
So much drama. Like he was.
That's a life that I wouldn't want to live. That's
No.
for sure.
Well,
I
he
don't
didn't
like,
want to live it either.
I don't like all those people. That was exhausting. It was interesting though.
I'm glad to have learned it along with you guys.
Well, yeah, that was
So,
really
yeah.
interesting. I'm gonna have to actually read his book because now I'm kind of curious and will probably learn a lot more detail about the murder since
Maybe
it was just
download it
basically
illegally
Yeah, I don't
somewhere.
really
Don't
wanna
give
support
money.
the guy,
Don't
but,
give him any profit.
I'll go to the library. That's what I'll do. I'll go to the
I wonder if
library.
that's something the library would carry. You think?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I can request it. They'll order books if
Really?
you ask them to. Yeah. But
But yeah, and here's him standing in front of that creepy ass house.
Oh, wow.
it looks photoshopped.
It all makes sense now. We'll put that on our Instagram or something.
Yeah, we'll
looker.
put these on our Instagram.
That is so funny. All
But yeah,
right,
it was a crazy story.
that
I
is-
had fun researching it.
I'm more interested in the ugly carnival. That's
The
something,
ugly carnival?
That's something I want. I mean, honestly, there's so much that happened that I even for a minute forgot about the ugly carnival. Like we've gone on so many tangents here that we could have a lot of episodes out of this one story.
Yeah, we could do a whole one on the ugly carnival for sure.
It was a lot.
That was a lot. That was intense. I feel like I need a nap. All right. right. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
I hope you come back. You can reach out to us at our Gmail at mostlymacabrepod@gmail.com. We also have our Instagram that you can reach us on, and we hope you keep listening.
Bye.